Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video, and today we will be making a monster cookies and cream cake. You guys, I wanted to show you guys how easy it was to achieve a professionally looking cake on your own, and it's gonna taste amazing, it's gonna look amazing. It's super easy to achieve this look. I know that birthday parties and gatherings are getting more immaculate as the time goes, so I wanted to make a vanilla cookies and cream. I myself, I am not really a chocolate person, so I thought that a lot of people would enjoy a vanilla based cookies and cream cake. As you can see, I have 3 lovely layers, and we turned this into a monster cake. This recipe is very beginner friendly, and it didn't cost much at all to accomplish this. Let's get into the recipe. So in my handy dandy mixing bowl, I'm going to add our boxed cake mix. Yes, we are using boxed cake mix. We're going to add in Oreo cookies and cream jello mix package to that. We're also going to add in our eggs and everything else outside of the pudding mix is just following the instructions on the back of the cake mix box. So we had oil, water, and then because the mixture is a little thick when you're adding pudding to your cake mix, I am going to use my hand mixer to get things well incorporated. So as you can see, that jello mix, that cookies and it's by Oreo. The cookies and cream pudding mix is amazing. It's not overly cookies and cream, but it's just enough, like you can see, like the little specks, just like cookies and cream ice cream, because I personally don't care for chocolate like that. So this is perfect when you're not trying to make this a chocolate lover cake. So here I have my 8-inch cake pans that I'm going to spray down with some pan baking spray. Feel free to use Baker's Joy or whichever non-stick for baking spray that you have. And then we're going to go ahead and distribute our cake mix just evenly into each pan. Again, I am not, super OCD to the point that I'm weighing it out. So you're just going to go ahead and eyeball it. Make sure that the levels look about even. And then, keep going from there. So you're also going to bang out any air bubbles that you may have in your cake mix. And then we are going to go ahead and bake these cakes for about 30 to 35 minutes or until they are golden brown. So while our cake is baking, we're going to get started on our frosting. I am going to be using a American buttercream recipe. I will leave all measurements, ingredients used down in the description box below. So you're going to want to beat your unsoftened butter, and I let it beat for about 5 to 7 minutes. So while that's beating, our cakes are out of the oven, and this is what they're looking like. So I'm going to let them cool down, and then we're also going to go in and level them, so that way when you're building the cake, everything is nice and structured and it won't be leaning rock with it. So yeah, if you have a cake leveler, please use that. I used a serrated knife. So back to our frosting. As you can see, our butter is nice and silky and just whipped up perfectly. So we're going to go ahead and add our sugar in, and we're going to do this in increments. You don't want to add in all your sugar at one time because you're going to have powdered sugar all over your kitchen. Okay, so I'm going to leave the recipe for my American buttercream in the description box, but I did do a full recipe, and then I also added half of that recipe as well. So you're going to add in your sugar, just a little bit at a time. I'll say about two cups at a time, and then just be careful with turning up the mixer speed because you don't want a mess all over your kitchen. Sugar will literally be everywhere. So So I'm getting down to my final, adding my final cups of sugar, and then you add just a little bit of milk at a time because you don't want this too runny. So I'll leave that measurement also in the description box below. So here I have Oreo thins, and I like thins better than the bigger Oreos because the big ones are just too bulky. So I used the literally one complete side of the package, and then I went ahead and put it in my blender because I surprisingly don't own a food processor yet. And then voila, after blending them, you want your Oreos to be this fine. Please do not chop it up with your hands because you need it to be finely blended just like this so that it blends in with your buttercream. So our buttercream is ready, and I'm going to go ahead and add our Oreos directly to the buttercream, and then we're going to give that a mix. So this is really going to give that cake that cookies and cream overall taste. So you have it in the cake batter, you also have plenty of it in your icing. And then once it's mixed, you want to go, as you can see, it's like some left that's not well incorporated. You want to scrape down the edges of your bowl and bring them to center just to make sure that it gets well incorporated with everything else. So it's time to assemble our cake. So here I have my cake stand. I'm going to put a little buttercream at the bottom. We have our first layer of cake, and then we are going to add a dollop of our cookies and cream American buttercream icing. And you want to make sure that, I know it's for beginners, but basically you want to take your offset spatula and rotate it around in a circle, and what that does is going to create a leveled surface. And then once you get that layer of icing nice and level, you're going to add your next layer of cake, and then you're going to basically just keep going. I don't know how tall your cake is going to be, but normally a cake is about 3 layers. So you're just going to repeat that process, going around and around with your offset spatula. If you don't have an offset spatula, I suggest getting one. I got mine, I want to say from Walmart. It's like $2, and it is essential to making cakes. So here's our last cake layer. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a crumb coat. What a crumb coat is a very thin layer of icing that locks in all the crumbs so that they are not present in our final presentation. So a crumb coat does not have to be perfect at all. You're literally just locking in all of the crumbs. I like to be generous and kind of take off a little bit just so that I know that all of my crumbs are nice and safe and tucked underneath our buttercream. So as you can see, I started from the bottom, and then you kind of want to work your way to the top. So now it's time to smooth out our crumb coat just a little bit. So I have my bench scraper here, and I'm just going to go around and take off any excess icing that's not necessary for our crumb coat. Remember, it's supposed to be a very thin layer of buttercream, so you want to just have just enough to lock in those crumbs. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to level off the sides of our cake because we want those sharp edges just as the professionals have them. And again, if you don't make cakes, don't worry, it does not have to be perfect. This is something that took me years to achieve, and as you can see here, it wasn't leveled all the way, like it was a slight drop in there, so I added just a little bit more buttercream to make sure that the top was nice and flush and everything was leveled out. As I was saying, don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does take practice and time to achieve greatness, so just keep practicing and then you'll get it. So now I'm just going around one more time with my bench scraper, and then I'm gonna comb off any excess from the top with my bench scraper. So I went and I popped the cake in the refrigerator for about an hour just so it can kind of firm up. And as you can see, it's you know, cool to touch. No icing came off when I touched the cake. So I actually love frosting my cakes while they're cold. It just gives a better result. So now we're gonna add our final coat of our cookies and cream buttercream. And then this is where you want to be kind of generous with the amount of buttercream that you're adding to the cake, because this is going to be your final, like your final little layer of buttercream, and this is going to eventually be your final presentation. So again, I work my way from the bottom and then up to the top, and then if I see that anything is uneven or I maybe need to fill in somewhere, I go ahead and add a little bit more icing, especially to the top, because we want those sharp edges. So again, I'm running my bench scraper along, gonna smooth it out. With this, you guys just be patient with yourself. It does take a lot of time. It probably took me like 20 minutes just to get it, you know, to as close as perfect as I would like. Your cake, it does not have to be perfect, especially if this is for your house. If you're a beginner baker, just hang in there, you'll get it. And then we are going to bring those edges toward our center, so that way we have those nice sharp edges. And then you want to make your cake is leveled. So I'm happy with how I smoothed over my cake. So now we're gonna move on to our drip. So I just melted down some milk chocolate, and then I have a small little kitchen spoon, and then you're going to just drip a little off the edges of the cake, and then it's just gonna give it that nice drip effect, a nice accent piece to tie together the rest of the cake. So you're gonna go around the whole cake. Please take your time while doing this. You don't want any excess splatter from the chocolate. So when you're removing it from the cup, make sure that you kind of scrape the bottom so that you don't have any boo-boos or any extra unwanted splatters of chocolate on your cake in places that you didn't want them. So now that I have all my chocolate dripping off the side of the cake just like I wanted to, I'm gonna go ahead and pipe some little icing mountains. I don't know what else to call them. Yeah, so I'm gonna pipe some icing mountains along the top border of my cake. And this is what's going to help our Oreos kind of stand up, and they are, you know, secured at the top of our cake. So they were a little short at first, and you know, we wanted this to be a mega cake. We extra on this channel, and we wanted it to give what it was supposed to give. So I went ahead and added a little bit of extra icing. So I have some leftover Oreo thins that we're gonna place in between each little mountain of icing. And then once the icing set, these Oreos definitely, they will not go anywhere. I promise. So we have more Oreos, and you know, this is a mega cake. So we're gonna go ahead and take a butter knife, and you wanna gently break apart the Oreo. They're thin, so please, please, please be careful. We're gonna use the cream, and that's gonna be like our little glue. And we're gonna go ahead and put them around the bottom border of our cake. I didn't want to be boring and pipe, you know, some little swoopies down there. So I did add the Oreo thins, and I think it gave it a really, really, really nice touch. Very professional looking. And you can't have enough cookies to go on your cookies and cream mega cake. Voila! So this is the end result. As you guys can see, this was super, super easy to do. It was very cost effective, and it is very possible for you to do cakes yourself and still have that very professional Look to it. Again, it won't always be super perfect on the first try, but practice does make perfect. And I really believe that you guys can pull off this cake with no problems, hands down. Let me know how you guys enjoyed this video. I know you've been loving these cake videos, so I'm gonna keep them coming. Cookies and cream is something that my old clientele used to really enjoy, that my family really enjoys. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this step-by-step recipe. As always, I want to thank you guys for your continuous love and support. To all of my new subscribers, welcome. If this is your first time on my channel, please hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so you are notified anytime I drop another video. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.